This doesn't start the way you think it does. There is no big moment, no obvious mistake. It starts quietly, in small decisions you don't even notice. Not with something big, not with something obvious, but with small moments where you slowly give more than you should. You reply a little faster than necessary. You explain yourself when no explanation was required. You stay available, even when it costs your own peace. And at first, it feels like you're doing the right thing. Like you're being a good person, like you're building connection. But something shifts. People stop valuing your time. They stop respecting your boundaries. And without realizing it, you become someone who is easy to access and easy to ignore. This is the part no one talks about. Because the world tells you that being open, kind, and available will earn you respect. But in reality, constant availability does the opposite. It lowers your value. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology ever explained it. He observed that power does not come from how much you give, but from how much you can withhold. Because the moment people feel they have unlimited access to you, they stop seeing you as someone to earn and start seeing you as something to use. And if you're honest, you've felt this, that quiet frustration of always being there for others, but never feeling truly valued in return. So the real question is not why people use you. The real question is, what are you doing that makes it so easy? Most people won't admit this. But the reason you feel disrespected is not random. It's not bad luck. And it's definitely not because you're unlucky. It's a pattern, a slow pattern, built in small moments where you gave a little more than you should have, where you stayed a little longer than you needed to, where you said yes when your mind was clearly saying no. And the dangerous part is, it doesn't feel wrong in the beginning. It feels right. It feels like you're being a good person, like you're building connections, like you're doing what everyone tells you to do. Be kind, be available, be understanding. But while you're busy doing all that, something quietly starts changing. People start interrupting you more. Not loudly, not obviously, but just enough to show you don't hold the same weight anymore. They start ignoring your words, responding half-heartedly, or not responding at all, and somehow expecting you to still be there the next time they need something. They start remembering you. Only when they need something, only when there's work, only when there's a problem, only when they have no one else, and you respond every time. That's the pattern, because in their mind, you're not a priority, you're a backup, someone they can come to, use, and leave. And the truth is, they're not doing this consciously. You trained them to. Because every time you made yourself available, every time you over-explained, every time you tolerated disrespect without reacting, you were teaching people one thing again and again and again, that you are easy to access and easy to ignore. Think about it like this. You became free Wi-Fi, always on, always available, no password, no limit. People connect when they need you, disconnect when they don't, and never once think about your value, because what is always available feels replaceable. And you can see the shift if you're honest. The more you give, the less it matters. The more you care, the less it is noticed. The more you try to hold people, the easier it becomes for them to let you go. It's subtle, but it's brutal. Because one day you wake up and realize you're present in everyone's life, but no one is truly present in yours. You listen to everyone, continuously, patiently, endlessly. But when it's your turn, there's silence. You show up again and again and again, but when you need someone, there's no one to be found, and that frustration, that quiet anger you don't even express properly. It doesn't come from people. It comes from the realization that somewhere along the way, you made yourself too easy to have and too easy to lose. And the worst part, you think the solution is to give more, to try harder, to be better, to be even more available. But that is exactly what keeps you stuck. Because in the psychology of power, the more you give without limits, the less you are valued without exception. And slowly, silently, without any warning, you stop being a priority and become an option. It usually starts with something very simple, a small request, something that doesn't feel like a big deal in the moment. Someone asks you for help, for time, for attention, and without thinking too much, you say yes. Not because you really want to, but because saying no feels uncomfortable. And in that moment, saying yes feels easier than dealing with that discomfort. And this is where the pattern begins. Because this is not just about one situation or one moment where someone disrespects you. It is a pattern that slowly builds over time and starts following you everywhere you go. At first, it looks harmless. Small moments where you let things pass, where you decide not to react, where you tell yourself it's not worth it. But those small moments don't stay small, they stack, they repeat, and eventually they turn into something people can predict. And once people can predict you, they start using you. Not consciously at first, but naturally. Because they know you won't say no, you won't push back, you will adjust. And that changes everything. Because the moment your yes becomes predictable, it stops having value. It stops being a choice and becomes your identity. And if you look closely, you will start to see it. You are remembered when there is work. You are remembered when there is a problem. You are remembered when there is no one else available. And in between all of that, you are forgotten. That is not coincidence. That is positioning. That is what happens when your presence becomes utility, like free Wi-Fi. People connect when they need it and disconnect when they're done. No respect, no attachment, just usage. And the more you keep saying yes, the deeper this gets. Because now it's not just others. You start training yourself to ignore your own limits, to override your own discomfort, to prioritize others automatically. And slowly, your own time starts feeling less important. Your own energy starts feeling negotiable. Your own boundaries start disappearing. And when your boundaries disappear, people don't see a strong person anymore. They see access. Easy, predictable, always available access. And access kills respect. Because what is always available is never valued. Think about it. The first time you help someone, it feels meaningful. The second time, it feels appreciated. The third time, it feels expected. And after that, it becomes invisible. That's how fast value collapses when there is no resistance. And now, even when something feels wrong, even when you want to say no, you hesitate. Because now you're not just saying no to a request. You're breaking a pattern, and breaking a pattern creates tension, so you avoid it. You go back to yes, again and again, until one day you feel it clearly. That quiet frustration, that mental exhaustion, that feeling of respect missing, even when you are doing everything right. And that's when it hits you. It was never about people suddenly changing. It was about what you allowed repeatedly. Because the real problem is not that people use you. The real problem is how easy you've made it. And then there's another pattern. One that looks harmless on the surface, but slowly destroys how people see you. You explain too much. Not just what you did, but why you did it. What you meant, what you didn't mean. What they should understand, and what they might misunderstand. At first, it feels like clarity, like you're being honest, like you're making things easier for people. But that's not how it lands. Because the more you explain, the more it starts sounding like you're trying to convince. And the moment you sound like you're trying to convince, you stop sounding certain. You stop sounding in control. And people feel that instantly. Not logically, but psychologically. Because confidence doesn't speak more, it speaks less and stands by it. But when you keep adding layers, extra words, extra justifications, your message loses weight. It becomes soft, negotiable, open for doubt. And once doubt enters, respect starts slipping. Because this is not just about communication. It is about how you position yourself in every interaction. Every time you over-explain, you are sending a signal. A silent signal that says, I need you to understand me. I need you to agree with me. I need your approval. And that need is what weakens you. Think about it. A person who is clear, who knows what they're doing, doesn't feel the need to explain every move. They say what is needed and stop. No extra noise, no emotional defense, no pressure to be understood. And that silence, that control, creates weight. But when you keep talking, you remove that weight yourself. And this is where it gets worse. Because people don't just hear your words. They read your behavior. They notice that you explain a lot, that you justify everything. So they start questioning more, interrupting more, challenging more. Not because they hate you, but because they can. Because there is no resistance, no firmness, no boundary in your communication. And slowly, a dangerous shift happens. People stop taking your words seriously, not because what you say is wrong, but because how you say it feels unsure. And you've seen this happen. Maybe not in big moments, but in small ones. You say something, and someone questions it instantly. You make a decision, and someone feels comfortable challenging it. You explain yourself, and instead of clarity, it invites more doubt. And here's the brutal part. Even if you are right, even if your intention is pure, it doesn't matter. Because perception beats intention. Always. And this doesn't just stay in conversations. It affects how people treat you over time. Because once they see that you explain everything, they stop respecting your boundaries. They start expecting access, expecting answers, expecting explanations for things that don't even require one. And this is where that deeper truth hits. You can help someone 99 times. Show up, support them, give your time, your energy. And the moment you say no, just once, suddenly you become the bad person. Suddenly you are selfish, changed, not the same anymore. And those 99 times, gone, forgotten, like they never existed. Why? Because you trained them. You trained them that you will always explain, always adjust, always be available. So when you don't, it feels wrong to them. Not because you're wrong, but because you broke the pattern. And this is how people start using you. Not through force, but through familiarity. They get used to your yes, used to your explanations, used to your presence. And once something becomes predictable, it becomes exploitable. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this clearly. He knew that power is not just in what you do, but in what you don't explain. Because the less people can fully read you, the more they respect you, the more they hesitate before crossing you. But when everything about you is explained, clear, available, there is nothing left to respect, only something left to use. So understand this deeply. Over-explaining is not communication. It is fear, disguised as clarity. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of conflict, fear of not being liked. But respect does not come from being understood by everyone. It comes from standing firm, even when not everyone agrees, even when not everyone understands. Because the moment you stop explaining everything, people start listening more carefully. They start taking your words seriously. They start respecting your silence. And that is where your power begins to return. Not when you say more, but when you learn to say only what is needed and stand by it. And then there's the biggest one, the one that silently destroys everything. You are always available, always reachable, always ready, always there, no matter what time it is, no matter what you're doing, no matter what it costs you. You pick up the call. You reply instantly. You adjust your schedule. You say, "I'll manage," even when you're already tired. And at first, it feels like strength, like you're dependable, like people can count on you, like you are that person everyone trusts. But slowly, that strength turns against you, because the moment you become always available, you stop being valuable, not because you changed, but because your access became unlimited. And anything that is unlimited is never respected. Think about it like this. You don't value air because it's always there. You don't value free Wi-Fi because everyone can use it. Same thing happens with you. The more available you are, the less people feel the need to earn your time. And this is where the pattern becomes clear. If you look closely, you will start to see it. You are remembered when there is work. You are remembered when there is a problem. You are remembered when there is no one else available. And in between all of that, you are forgotten. That is not coincidence. That is positioning, because you trained people that your time has no cost, that your energy is always accessible, that no matter what, you will be there. So they stop respecting it. And this doesn't happen in big, obvious ways. It happens in small moments. Someone texts you late, and you reply instantly. Someone cancels on you, and you adjust without saying anything. Someone calls only when they need something, and you still show up again and again and again. And every time you do that, you are reinforcing the same message. My time is not that important. My priorities can wait. You can access me anytime. And people believe what you show, not what you say, because boundaries are not spoken, they are demonstrated. Now compare this to someone who is not always available, someone who doesn't reply instantly, who doesn't pick every call, who doesn't adjust every plan. At first, it might look rude, but over time, something else happens. People start respecting their time. They think before reaching out. They value the response when it comes. They don't take access for granted, because scarcity creates value, and availability kills it. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think being available will make people closer, but what it actually does is make people comfortable using you, not respecting you. And if you're honest, you've felt this. That moment when someone only shows up when they need something. That moment when your time is ignored, but their urgency becomes your responsibility. That quiet frustration of always being there, but never being prioritized. And the worst part, you allowed it. Not intentionally, but gradually, through small decisions, small adjustments, small compromises that felt harmless. But patterns don't care how they start. They only care how often they repeat. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this deeply. He knew that power is not about being present everywhere. It is about controlling your presence, because the man who is always available is easy to replace. But the man who chooses when to show up becomes impossible to ignore. So understand this clearly. Your time is not cheap. Your attention is not free. And your presence should not be something people assume. Because the moment people have unlimited access to you, they stop respecting your limits. And the moment you take that access back, even slightly, everything changes. People start noticing, they start adjusting, they start valuing what they were getting for free. And that is where respect begins. Not when you give more, but when you stop giving without limits. And this is where everything starts to change. Because once you see this pattern clearly, you can't go back to being the same person. You start noticing it in real time. The moments where you would have said yes, you pause. The moments where you would have explained yourself, you stop. The moments where you would have made yourself available, you think twice. And that small pause changes everything. Because now you are no longer reacting automatically. You are choosing. And that is where your control begins. You don't need to become rude. You don't need to become cold in a fake way. You just need to stop being easy. Stop saying yes to everything. Stop explaining things that don't need explanation. Stop being available to everyone at all times, not aggressively, quietly, consistently, because boundaries are not something you announce. They are something people experience in your delay, in your silence, in your absence. And at first, people will notice. They will question it. They will feel the difference. Some will try to pull you back into the old pattern because that version of you was easy, predictable, useful. But this time, you don't react. You don't explain. You don't go back. And slowly, something shifts. The same people who ignored your time start respecting it. The same people who used your presence start valuing it. The same people who took you for granted start thinking twice before crossing you. Not because you said anything, but because you changed your behavior. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this deeply. He knew that power is not in what you say, it is in what you tolerate. And the moment you stop tolerating everything, people stop taking everything from you. Because in the end, respect is not something you ask for. It is something you set through your limits, through your silence, through your ability to walk away. And the moment you stop being easy to use, you become impossible to ignore.